In this video, we'll see how we can set up a check in Microsoft Excel to prevent the entry of a future date in a cell using Excel's data validation feature. So we have a small list of names and we have a date of joining field where we would enter the date when these people became a member of our group. But we want to make sure that we don't enter future date in the date of joining field. That's the F column. So the date in the F column can be a date in the past or today's date. So how do we do that? Let's see. Firstly, what we would do is we'll select the column F in this case, and then we would go to the data tab. The data tab is right next to formulas tab here, and in the data tab we'll click data validation. So the data validation dialog box will appear, and under the validation criteria there are a number of options, but we'll choose date because that's what we want to check. And below that we have data. So in this data field we would select, again we have number of options, but we would select less than or equal to, because that's what we want to check against. Our date should be less than or equal to today's date. So we'll select this option, less than or equal to, and the end date will enter a formula which is today, so that today's date will appear and it will check against today's date, and then we'll click OK. So this is how we set up a test to check the entry of future date. And now what we are going to do is we are going to check if our test is working. So let's enter a date here. Okay, so this date is okay because it's not a future date, so it's Microsoft Excel is allowing us to enter this date. Now let's try and enter a future date, suppose a date in May. So now we are getting an error as we cannot enter future date. This value doesn't match the data validation restriction defined for this cell. So that means our check is properly working, and that's what we wanted to do. So that's okay. We'll retry and we are gonna check. We are gonna clear this. So that's how you set up a data validation check so that you prevent the entry of a future date in your sheet.